Okay. I hope everyone can hear me loud and clear. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to another workshop session with SwiftXR. And if you can hear us loud and clear, please let us know in the chats. And today we're going to be looking at adding 3D AR VR content to your website using SwiftXR and a couple more things. But before then, we'll just quickly do a couple of intros, and after that, we'll get started. So, my name is Oluwatosin, lead community at SwiftXR, and we'll do a quick introduction to what SwiftXR is today. So, our agenda for today would basically be what exactly is SwiftXR, talk about some use cases in which you can use SwiftXR, and also would get into the live demo where we actually get to add 3D, AR, or VR content to our website. So, a quick introduction for those of us who do not know what AR, VR, or even 3D is. 3D is basically a way to visualize objects in three dimensions, I would say. So think of ways to view things in three dimensions on your computer screen, right? Everything is handled mostly by 3D technology, right? And on top of that, we have augmented reality, which allows you overlay 3D objects onto the real world via the use of a mobile device or any other device that supports augmented reality. And then you can see these 3D objects within your real world via the help of some form of camera, right? And then we also have virtual reality, which allows you view a completely virtual world, which is a 3D generated world on your device, maybe on your PC, on your mobile, but with the help of virtual reality headsets as well, that allows you view it in a much more immersive manner. Right. So that's a quick rundown of that. And moving on, what exactly does SwiftXR do? So SwiftXR is a no-code web platform that allows everyone, right, to create interactive experiences for AR, for VR, even if it's just simply showcasing your 3D models on the web. And this just helps to reduce the time taken to actually create these experiences, unlike regular traditional tools that you would use. You'd have to write your own code from scratch. You'd have to do everything from scratch, right? But what SwiftXR does is just helps you reduce that time and also allows you share your designs faster. Right. So moving on from this, let's quickly talk about some places where you can find SwiftXR across the web right now. So we are currently integrated across multiple platforms. This is just a few of them. We're in Bubble, WordPress, Shopify, Wix, and we also do have the Sketchfab integration that allows you to get 3D models from 3D asset store like Sketchfab. We're also available on Canva and Figma to generate 2D snapshots of your 3D models that can be used as well. And that's something we're going to be trying out today to improve the overall experience of our website that we would be creating. We're also present on platforms like Weebly, Squarespace, Format, Ucraft, and so much more. Right. So let's quickly talk about some features that are available within SwiftXR at the moment that you can take advantage of. We have the 3D viewer that allows you view your 3D models in 3D, right? We have plane detection for detecting surfaces within your environment as well. That's when you're in augmented reality. You can also view your artworks in the real world space using our Art 3D viewer. If you're interested in creating animated 3D characters that you want on the web, we also do have a Ready Player Me integration that allows you to do that. Right. We also have image tracking for tracking images to then overlay 3D objects on them. We also have face tracking that allows you, put pretty things on your face as well. And yeah, there's a couple more. But yeah, let's just talk about a few use cases. So first one, real estate. So say for example, you have a particular building a client wants to purchase, but the client is very far away from the location of the building, you then create, say, a digital twin or 3D representation of that same building. Or even if the building has not yet been constructed, this is a way to actually visualize it as well and get the clients to go through the building even before it's been constructed and kind of give feedback and see what it's like and know if they're interested as well. So this way you can target more clients, right? Rather than waiting for people to come down to where the actual location is and stuff like that. Right. So there is the use case for artwork showcase as well. So we have artists currently using the platform to showcase their artworks in other people's space. So, say an artist creates something, they share a link, and once you get that link, you can just open it up and view that particular artwork within your space as well. So, people use this for selling their artwork as well. So, say you go to a website and you want to buy a particular artwork, you really love it, but you don't know how well it would fit with the maybe the aesthetics within your living room or wherever you want to put that. You can then just get that link, take that link, open it up in your space, right, and put it on the wall. Check it out, see how big you might want it or how small you might want it, and how exactly it would fit in without having to actually buy the product first, testing it, and then deciding if it works or not. So it's a very, very good use case for that. Then you also have e-commerce, especially for people, which kind of ties a bit into what I already said with the artwork, to be fair. But this allows people to sell their physical products online easily. So, say for example, you're selling a face cap. The user can try on that face cap without even buying it, thanks to the help of augmented reality, right? Say you're selling different digital products, furniture, for example. The user doesn't have to buy the furniture immediately. They could just look at the furniture and see how it fits within their space before they decide on what type of furniture to actually purchase as well. So there's a few use cases. There's still so much more, right? But we'll try to keep it as short as possible. But yeah, if you have any questions at all regarding using SwiftXR for your particular use case, feel free to reach out to us at support@swiftxr.io. We would always be happy to help, right? And yes, so we'll get into the demo session in a bit. And if you do have any questions, please feel free to use the comment section and let us know as well. Right. So for today, just like we said at the start, we'll be looking at adding 3D AR or VR content to our website using SwiftXR. Right. And for today, we would be taking a look at Weebly. So here we go. So Weebly is another website that allows you to create your websites easily as well. So we would be looking at creating a simple, say, real estate sort of application. Not necessarily real estate, but it shows you like buildings or rooms and things like that. And you can see what they look like, walk through them all on the website itself. So we'll look at how we can create something simple like that. And you can then, of course, go try this out on your own if you are into something like this. Right. And this is something that you can use even beyond real estate. If it's just setting up your own personal website and you want to walk people through different environments, that's highly possible as well. Right. So if you're with me, we would be using Weebly, and we could just share a link to that in the chats for those of us that are not familiar with Weebly itself. Right. And that has been shared in the chat. So you can follow me along on this as we go through this. And if there are any questions at all, please let us know in the chat as well. Right. So we will be creating a simple website. I'm signed up already on Weebly, and I will just be creating a really, really simple website. We do have a couple of videos on setting up an online store with like your 3D models already for platforms like Shopify, Wix on our YouTube. So you can always go check that out. Probably at some point in time, I will just put a link to that in the chats as well. Cool. So let's get started. Let's just say I need a website. There we go. So we're going to look for a template that works for us. We're not going to do things from scratch. Let's see. So yep, I think this is a pretty much ideal example of what we're going to be working on, where you have like a picture of a room and then you have the actual environment you can walk through. So we'll be creating something like this from scratch, right? And yeah, we'll just look for that exact template and work with that. That could be fun. And let's start with this. I think that should be it. Yep. So we can start with this and then start editing. Okie dokie. And let's wait for that to load up. Okay, cool. Let's give our domain a name. So let's just say workshop Swift XR demo. I was actually typing workshop Swift XR demo. Let's search for that and then just choose the free one here. Awesome. So we should have our link now, and we'll do this later. And let's just reload the editor and wait for that to load. Cool. Right. So this is what our website looks like at the moment. All good. Right. So we can start maybe making slight changes to it, field tweaks and all. One thing I would start with is say we have this maybe hotel bookings. We could go with that, and then we could say check out room to book maybe, and then we can come in here and add in a custom embed code. So we'll talk a bit more about the embed code once we get into SwiftXR, and then we'll come back here because this allows us to actually add a bit of a small window where you get to then see the 3D environment. And for this particular use case, we would be using the virtual reality component. So with that said, let's get into SwiftXR itself. So head over to swiftxr.io and let me just get that link here for us and drop that in the comments as well. Cool. So when you get to swiftxr.io, just create a new project, right? And here we would create our workshop SwiftXR demo. Okay. So once you're signed into the SwiftXR platform, there are a couple of things to take note of. The very first thing is the left side here, where you get to see your components, and all your components form the building blocks for your project itself, right? So you have basic components here that allows you to do layouts, text, and even add links to your project itself. So that's something we're actually going to try out later on. Let's see how that goes, right? And then for our use case, we do want a VR component, and you can find the VR component under the 3D section. So under the 3D section, you have the typical 3D viewer, you have the AR viewer, the virtual reality viewer, which we're going to be using. You have a couple more here: the face tracking, image tracking, 3D cursor, 3D text, customizable 3D viewer, and indexable 3D viewer as well for developers. Right. But for us, we're just concerned about the virtual reality viewer for today. Right. So let's get started on that. And let me just increase the size here so you can see us clearly. Cool. Um, yeah, let's get started with the virtual reality viewer. So let's click on that. Once you just click on it, it should load it up to the middle space within your screen, which is the canvas where you get to do all your work. Now you have a couple of options here about getting your 3D assets to use for a VR component. You can upload a custom 3D model if you have one. feel free to upload a custom 3D model. If you don't, that's totally fine. We do have the 3D asset store that allows you check out 3D models, although you would have to put in the license from the 3D artist that most likely created that 3D model, right? Or you can request a custom 3D model from SwiftXR support as well. And the last but not the least, which is currently in beta, is the ability to scan a 3D model. So say you have a particular environment that you want to use, an actual environment that you want to use, you could use your mobile phone, right, to scan the environment and convert that into a 3D object. Using there are different platforms available on our documentation page for this that allows you to scan your real world environment, convert it into 3D, and then use that within the SwiftXR application itself. Right, but for today's session, we're going to be using a 3D model from the 3D asset store. So for that, we're going to use, I think it was room interior. I believe that was the keyword because I found a really good 3D model that we could use, and it was quite good, which was this bedroom interior here, right? So you can use any one of your choice, but preferably I'm using this, right? And once it loads up, you should see something like this. Right, so you can just zoom in and see what it looks like at the moment. It's just a simple room. It's just a simple room here, nothing extra, right? And for this, what we can then do is we can set it up to actually work well for us. Because at the moment, if we preview this particular 3D model that we've just added, so let's click on preview here, and this should load it up. You should see the way it looks like on mobile and the same way it looks like on your desktop. So let me just try to set this here. Okay, so if we click on virtual walkthrough, this should take us to what it would look like in VR. So at the moment, what we just see are like white spaces, which can be really, really annoying because it feels like we're currently on top of the bedroom itself, which is very weird. We can actually move around. I don't know if you can see that, but we can move around using the WASD keys. If you're into gaming, right, or if you play a lot of games on your mobile devices, or if you navigate 3D environments on your desktops, right, not mobile devices, you should be familiar with the WASD movement, which is W for moving forward, A for moving left, S for moving backwards, and D for moving right. So you can move forward, left, backwards, right, using WASD, right? But at the moment, we're not in the environment at all. We just can like move around the environment, and if you just hold down on your left click, if you just left click, you can use that to rotate your first person view, right? So we're just seeing the, let's see if we can see the where are you, the entrance here. So you can see the environment, but we're kind of like just outside the environment at the moment, right? Which isn't the best, right? So to fix that, what we need to do is head over to the properties. And before you head over to the properties, ensure that you have the actual model view, the VR component here selected. To ensure you have it selected, you can go over to the layers tab. And under the layers tab, you should see the model viewer VR here selected. Because if you click on body here and go over to properties, you wouldn't see anything. Ensure you have the model viewer VR selected. And then if you go over to the properties tab, you should see all these options here. So there are quite a couple of options here. The first one we will touch on would be the virtual reality option. Right. So with the virtual reality option, let's open that up and select Open VR Editor. So once we open that up, there's a couple of things we need to note in here. We do have this three-dimensional axis that allows you move that model and tweak it to what you actually need. But there's one more thing to note here. You have this human figure here. So the human figure here serves as a reference, right? So kind of like mimics where the human being would be typically within that environment itself. It's very, very useful for reference to just, measure or compare with the size of the building itself. Right. So you have a few more things here that can help you out. Right. You can see how things would look like from the top, from the right, from the front as well. But you can always just move your mouse around here to rotate. And that's just for the view, for viewing the 3D model. But for us, what we need to do is right now, if we look at it, the human reference looks like a giant compared to the bedroom itself. So the first thing we need to do is increase the size of the bedroom, right? So to do that, we can use our um, tools here to increase the size. So let's bump up the size of that bedroom. Okay, at 2, it still looks a bit small compared to the human because that would be a very, very big person, very, very tall person, right? And the average human height is not that. So let's bump this up to about 3. And that kind of looks more, that looks better, right? And then the next thing we're going to do is we're then just going to select the building itself and just move it forward because I kind of want the user to start right at the front here or just move it here. So the user starts just right about here. Cool. So once you're okay with that, then just hit save. Don't forget to hit save. And once you do, you can then go back to the preview project mode and see if the changes have been updated. So you wouldn't see it here by default because this just loads up the 3D model. But when you click on virtual walkthrough, and I'm guessing you can't see that virtual walkthrough button, I should be able to see it now. Cool. So if you click on the virtual walkthrough button here, let's click on that. You should then see you're starting at that position that human reference was looking at. I hope that makes sense. So with this now, we can kind of view the room and we can move around using the same WASD keys, right? And we can just turn around and see what's going on, right? Everything looks good, right? And this is something we're going to be using for our environment. Cool. So if you had a VR headset, for example, right, and you connect your virtual reality headset, say MetaQuest headset, for example, you could share a link to the headset and you can view this within your VR headset as well. Right. Okay. So a couple of things here. If you click on enter VR, if you had your VR headset connected, this would actually transfer into your VR headset. But at the moment, because we don't have any VR headset connected, um, this is just going to be on your desktop here. But we could try that out later on if we do have more time. So let's see how that goes. Cool. So we can make a couple of changes here. For example, we add that enter VR button here. Where are you? Here we can make changes to this. So you could say view in headset. That could be it. And maybe you just want the color of the websites to match your aesthetics. Feel free to change that here. Maybe we can come back and change some of these things, but I don't think we'll need to for now. So yeah, we'll keep this. All these are VR settings, especially when you like go into VR to see your hands in VR, right? And yeah, we can close this up here. And if we're fine with this, we can actually try to publish this and just test things out. So let's just publish first. So I'll just rename this here and call this our workshop demo um, Weebly, right? And then just publish this. And let's wait for that to get published. Okay, now that that has been published, we can then see a couple of things here. So the first one is if you click on open project here, it just takes you to an active website link where you can test out that project at the moment. I can drop this in the chat as well for you all to go try out. Right. So with this is an active link online already for you. It's as simple as that, right? And you can view here, and you can see now we have viewing headset here. So if you have a VR headset connected, you can always do that, right? And if we just move around, we can also do that. We can move around and stuff, right? But now let's head back to SwiftXR. You can also create a QR code for this. So say for example, you have a flyer of this environment. Say you have a physical flyer of this environment. You can, have the QR code there. People can scan it and easily just view the environment as well, which is a very, very good way to go about things. Right. And finally, we have the embed project option. So remember when we looked at Weebly, when we're setting up our website here a bit, we had this embed code option, right? So what fits in from SwiftXR to Weebly would be this embed code. So there are different embed code options available based on the platform you're using, right? So say for example, if you're working on a Swift UI with the Apple ecosystem, right, you could use this embed code. If you're working on a website maybe with Vue, Angular, um, or React, you have the embed code for that as well. But for Weebly, it uses this HTML embed code, right? So we're going to copy this embed code, head back to Weebly, right? And we're going to just drag this embed code, say somewhere here, right? So with this embed code added here, we're then going to say, just click on this and edit custom HTML. Right? So when you click on edit custom HTML here, all you have to do is Control V, paste your HTML embed codes there. And once you do, you should see your virtual environment show up. It's that simple. And if we publish our website right now, we should have that environment within our website. As simple as that. Right? So let's test things out. This is our actual Weebly website now, not the SwiftXR website again. Right, so let's wait for that to load up. And if there are any questions at all, please do let us know. Okay, cool. Our website has loaded up. And if we just scroll down through our website, we have our apartment here, this little room. And then we can click on virtual walkthrough. And then once we click on virtual walkthrough, we can then see what the environment looks like in here on the website. Or rather still, we can just click on view headset and that takes it into like a full screen mode. And then we can see things easily as well. Right, so that's something that we can do. Cool. So yeah, we have one for this. Say for example, we wanted to have more things in here. So first things first, here the user might not know what to do when they're just seeing like the entire room. So in some cases where you don't want the user to see this 3D model, you just want the user to start. There's a hack to that you can work with at the moment by heading back to SwiftXR and making adjustments to the camera settings. Right. So to do that, first things first, uh, we can just close this. Let's head over to the general settings. And within the general settings, you can easily turn off some things. So for example, you can turn off panning, which means the user will not be able to pan around the environment. Again, panning is basically just right clicking and moving your cursor around. So that won't happen again, right? And also the other thing we can do is disable auto rotate, which means the model as well will not just rotate automatically again, right? And finally, you can even disable animations. We don't need animations with this. And you can also disable user control. So what that means is the user wouldn't be able to make any changes to the 3D model within this mode. But when you click on virtual walkthrough, you can actually move around, right? So this is just to prompt the user to, get to the VR space itself. Right. So while that's done, this doesn't look extremely exciting at the moment because it's really far away. So we'll leave at the moment if we just click enter here and take a look at this, user controls are not enabled again. Great. So let's head back to our camera settings. So the camera settings allows you view this 3D object at the moment. So there is like this camera that allows you view the world where this 3D object exists, right? So to make changes to how we see things here, we can make a few tiny adjustments here. So we can start with the horizontal angle. So we could say, let's have it somewhere here. And for the vertical angle, let's have it somewhere here, sort of. And then for the zoom, we can then just take this back and maybe make this a bit more. So I could set this to 50, maybe a bit more closer, say set it to 40. Maybe we still want it a bit more closer, set it to 30. Okay, so here's what interesting thing that's happening. At the moment, our zoom axis is currently set to the surface view, which means the zoom is relative to the surface of the 3D model, right? But if we want to actually work with the interior of this, since we're doing like a VR environment for this, right, we can easily switch this zoom axis here to explore inside. And when we switch to explore inside, the zoom values are now relative to the interior bits of that 3D model, right? So once we do that, you can see that at that same 30%, it's actually getting into the 3D model now. So this could be a decent position for us, or we could try exploring, see what 40 looks like. Maybe we work with 40. That looks pretty okay as well. And now that we have this, if we click on preview, let's see where we get our model from. So it's still we're a bit of a mix and match at the moment. But what I've found to work is when you click on preview, you can kind of gauge um, the direction here in terms of like position. So one thing we can do is we can try moving the X values just a tiny bit. I know it's a bit of a weird one at the moment, and then just trying to see how well that fits. So it looks like it's getting a bit better, and then we can move the Z position as well. And then just take a quick look at things. We're getting there. It's a bit of a weird one actually at the moment, but yep. Then we can see, I don't think I need to mess with the Y because that's just for the height. And then the vertical angle doesn't necessarily need to change. And let me just set this back to 0. And for now, we'll just enable user control here so I can easily just move around things and see how things are itself quickly. And yep, that's strange. Okay, cool. So let's preview that once again and see where we are. We're getting close, but not as close as we would want. So I can move the Z position just a bit, just a tiny bit. I think I moved that way too much. And preview again. Okay, you know what? We'll start with that and then we'll just try to publish again. And before we publish, let's turn off our user control and just publish that again. And that's just us updating our website, to be fair, because we published it once before. So we can head back to our Weebly demo right now and just reload that and see what it looks like. Okay, not too close to what we want, but you can always just do minor tweaks to this till you get exactly what you're looking for. So once again, I think I would just do a bit of the horizontal rotation and see where that leads us with the camera settings. Where are you? And let me just zoom this out a bit. So maybe keep this at like 45. And for the position here, just take this. Let me set this at 0. So we can get the good values here to make life easier for us. Let's see. And then bring this down. Let's see. Let me take this down a bit more. And let's preview once again. That is far off, but let me publish this first. It's a bit of a weird one, and it takes a bit to tweak around. But once you find a really sweet spot, okay, that's a interesting question. My models is best. Which tool or process do you recommend? Um, do you mean tools for creating your 3D models? So if it's tools for creating your 3D models, we do have a couple of tools which we do recommend. There is Blender, there is Maya. These are 3D modeling tools that you can always use to create your 3D models, rather than use some of the models we have on our custom asset store as well. So let's keep on tweaking this till we get something much more decent. Let's see. Do. Let's revert this to defaults first. And because I don't have user controls here, that feels very strange to navigate stuff. Okay, so where is our general settings? Okay, seems we have everything here. And let me just do OpenVR Editor once again, just to be sure we have everything the way it should be. Cool. Awesome. Sweet. So now that we have that, let's quickly go over that again. I see. Okay, so we can set this back to 0, scroll down, and for the horizontal axis, maybe set this here and set this to say 90, and set this down to about 40. Seems too close. About 30. And then quickly view this. Yep, that is pretty much close to what we might need. So what we can do is then turn off user control completely. And then if we head back here, we can actually let me just take a look at this once more. And one last thing I can do is just bump this up to about 60, right? And yeah, we have a decent view of what we need. Remember, all these changes you're making would not affect the virtual reality model or position you set already, right? So you do not need to worry about that, because when you click on virtual walkthrough here, you would start from that very position you set within the VR editor. Cool. So once we have this, we can then just hit publish, and let's just wait for that to update. There we go. So if we head back to our Weebly website now and then just refresh this here. Awesome. So you have this here for the environment itself. So you can see the user is unable to control this, which then prompts the user to click on the virtual walkthrough. right? And once they step into the virtual walkthrough here, they are able to kind of view the interior here. Cool. So one thing you can then do is click on viewing headset and then they can try this out. Right. So now that we have that, a couple more things we can do is we can have screenshots or snapshots. Okay, we do have another question. Reducing the poly count or the size of my model is best. So which tool or process is suggested? For reducing, I think you can just decimate your meshes using Blender. And interestingly, we do have a Blender plugin that allows you to push your 3D models directly from Blender to the web. And to do that, let me just quickly get our Blender guide here for you. So there's an add-on that you can download on Blender. This is it here. So if you go over to plugins and Blender, so you can download an add-on here that allows you to do that, and you can easily just publish your 3D models to the web from Blender as well. So I could share you a link to this in the chat. And we also do have options to help compress your textures and meshes within the Blender add-on. That really helps to optimize your models as well. Cool. So now let's generate snapshots of our environment in here. So if we head back to the editor, we can then go over here and we have Snap. So what Snap does is basically allows you to generate snapshots of your environment in VR or any 3D model that you want. So if you click on Snap here, you can just say generate image and it generates a snap of what your camera is currently looking at. So if we just were to open this up real quick, so this is the image it generated for us here. So it did generate this image for us, which is really, really cool. So what we can do is we can go back here and maybe use that image as the cover here, right? So let's say, let's replace that image and then I will just drag that image here. Uploading, let's see. It should be done. Come on. Come on. Let's just give that a bit of time. Maybe I should have done it the more traditional way. Let's see. Let's try that again. Or did it upload? Not so sure it did. I don't think it did. Let's see. Upload image. The image from the computer. Now we're back at the same spot. Let's hope that uploads. That's a strange, interesting one. Hmm. How long is that going to take? Let's see. That took a while, but yeah, we have that as well. So yeah, we have an image of that room in there, and then we can take a few more snapshots from SwiftXR to use for our environment. So here you would have to enable user control once again, right? But you don't need to enable panning or auto rotate. Right. So there's a few things here, right? You have this empty white space, which is basically just this environment you're seeing in here, right? And That's a lot of zoom in. Forgive my mouse. Right. So where are you? Oh, so there's a couple of things you can try out here real quick. So if you just were to go over to the where are you? Not you, the design, and go over to background, right? You could easily try changing the colors here to see if that affects the white bits you see within the room itself. Yep. So it does affect that you see there. So there's something interesting that you can do with your environment at the moment. Looking for the easiest way to show us this. Let's see. Cool. So there's something interesting you can do at the moment. So instead of having just a color, right, you could add in a simple HDR background as well. So if you go back to properties and go over to lighting settings, you have this HDR background image here. So this allows you add in an environment to your 3D models, right? So I'm just going to get one simple one. I think I have one here already that we can use. Just a moment. And there are websites where you can download this HDR images from. And an example of that is, let me just pop that up. Just a moment. An example of that is HDRI Avon. And I'm just copying that and pasting it in the chat. There we go. Sweet. So you can download HDRIs from there. So I'm just going to go over here and just add in this HDRI that I got. So you have a background like that in there already. Right. So we have like this really cool HDRI here within the environment. And then if you just go over to preview and click on virtual walkthrough, right, and just move around, what you then see is that environment just outside there. So rather than seeing just an empty white space, you can see the environment out there as well. And then if you move in here, you can see that same environment here as well, which can be pretty cool to have, right? Just to give an illusion, right, that you're within a particular world, right? So with that being the case, let's generate one more snapshot for our environment. And let's see. And a quick one I will just do here is just refresh the page. Cool. So once we do that, since we're able to move around now, we can generate a new snapshot of our environment. Right, so go over to Snap and generate image. So once we have that image generated, we can then head back to our Weebly editor. And now we can, let's save this first. And now we can add in another image here. So say image. Right, and with our image, we can then just add in our new snap image. Let's wait for that to load up as well. So that would just kind of be a different, or maybe that could have been here actually. If we were to click on replace image, can't we just, okay, we'd have to bring that in again. Okay, shouldn't take too long. Sweet. So I think that could be the way to go rather than put it in here. Right, so that could be the way to go for this. And then, right, so we can then publish our website now and take a look at what our website looks like. So if we head back to our website, we should have an image of the room we created. Right, so we should have an image of the room we created here, which is pretty cool. Right, and after that, if we, I can just share this in the chats actually for everyone, so we can check that out as well. So if we then scroll down, we have hotel bookings, which is a snap here, and we can actually see the hotel here and do a virtual walkthrough, right? And then you can view an headset, and that allows you to do an actual virtual walkthrough of the room. And this link hasn't been updated yet because if it has, we should be getting the other one. So to do that, let's just quickly go over to SwiftXR once again and select the embed code. Right, it should have updated, but just to be sure everything's working, just paste in that embed code once again. And once that is done, you can then just publish once again, and let's take a look at that. Give it time, and we're almost done. Almost. There we go. So if we scroll down now, we should have a 3D model here, view virtual walkthrough, and that's a strange one. Okay, no worries. Something we can always take a look at later on and see what exactly the issue is. But we still have our virtual walkthrough to go over, and yeah, that will be it. And with that, you do have a way to customize your 3D environments on your website and add them already. So if you do have any questions about setting things like this up, feel free to reach out to us. We're always happy to be of help and see how things go. Cool. With that said and done, we've covered quite a bit today. Just looking at using the VR component on SwiftXR, embedding a code on another website, and then just looking at a way to take snapshots of our environment as well, which can be very, very useful for product placements and stuff, right? And with that said and done, if there are any questions at all, please do let us know. We're happy to take questions, and thank you all so much. If there are no questions at all, see you all on our Discord. See you all during the next workshop, which will be coming um, later this month as well, and the month after. And then please feel free to join our Discord and feel free to chat with us there as well. And if you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out to support@swiftxr.io. Thank you all so much for joining us today, and do have a lovely rest of your weekend. Bye, everyone, and see you all.